Welcome everyone. My name is Jeroen Bobbeldijk. I'm the CTO of Klippa, and today I'm going to give you an introduction into the DocHorizon platform, specifically how you can implement the financial capturing services through Postman. The financial service is very similar to all the other capturing services, so all the details that apply to this service also apply to all the other services. It is good to have yourself prepared, have Postman installed, and also have an account on the platform, and have a project set up. Alright, to start off with the platform, you will need a preset. A preset will tell the API what kind of fields you want to have returned in reply of the document capturing service. To create a preset, go to the financial service and click on Add Preset. I have already created the invoice preset and enabled some components in there, as you can see on this screen. Disabling components here will make them disappear from the output result. Next up is creating a human-in-the-loop configuration. This is needed if you want to do human-in-the-loop validation of your documents, in which our back office or your own back office can do the validation of the captured results. Go to human-in-the-loop and go to configurations and press new configuration. I have also created a configuration here called invoice that contains some basic invoice fields that we want to have validated by the back office. You can see on the left side here that there are a lot of more fields to add, and that there are also a lot of other options to enable, like triggers to say when a review should be done. For example, when an amount is higher than a certain value, but also to give people options to do on hold, for example, when they don't know if something is correct, or to reject a document, for example, when it's not a valid invoice or receipt. You can also give contextual information to the reviewers to give more information about the documents that they are going to review. Before you can start implementing the API, it is a very good idea to start reading the documentation. Documentation can be found at DocHorizon.klippa.com/docs. The docs will tell you everything about the APIs that we have, any specific details and how you can implement them, what the input and output should look like, and what you should think about when you implement this API. For example, the sending in documents page will tell you how you can send in documents, through which ways, for example, a URL or base64, and also which kind of file types we support in our APIs. When you want to start implementing our API through Postman, it is very useful to use the Open API specification of our documentation. If you go to our documentation and click on API, and then on the left side click on Open API specification, then you will get a full API specification of all the endpoints that we have. And you can also download the YAML file that the configuration is also in. That YAML file can be used to import in Postman. So if you right click on the link and open Postman, click on import and then paste the URL in there. This will automatically import all the endpoints that we have and makes them easily available to you. When the Open API specification has been imported into Postman, you will see a new collection on the left side called Klippa DocHorizon. Under that collection, you can find all the endpoints that were imported from our platform. But more importantly is that you configure the authentication to talk to our API. You can do this by clicking on the collection called Klippa DocHorizon and go to the authorization tab. You will see that there's a variable in the value field and that it's unresolved. You can click on Add Variable and go to your platform account, go to the project settings, credentials, and by default we always make a credential called default. You can just copy the API key from that account and paste that into Postman. In scope, you can select the collection that was created so that this API key is available to all endpoints within that collection. Once you have configured the authorization in Postman, you can use the authentication info endpoint to see if everything is working correctly. You can do this by clicking on API, Services, Auth, V1, Info, and then Info about used key. If you click on that endpoint and then press Send, you should get all the information that belongs to your API key, like which services are enabled, but also which project your API key belongs to. Now that we have confirmed that your API key is working correctly, we can start processing invoices through the financial document capturing service. Go through document capturing, V1, financial, and then click open presets to list the preset that you have created to confirm that it's actually there. Press send and it should give a list of all the available presets in your project and the components that are enabled on that preset. As you can see, I have created the invoice preset. This is also the preset that I'm going to use to capture the document. So now that we have confirmed that your presets are available to you through the API, we can actually continue capturing documents through the document capturing API. So click on the left, click on Capture Financial Document. And here you can see that the input is already generated by the OpenAPI specification. We don't need most of it. If you want to know more about how the rest work, you can go to the documentation and read about it. But for now, we are going to clear out everything that we do not need. I've already prepared our input and our preset. The preset can be found in the platform or through the presets endpoint and can be copied from there and put inside the request body. I've also prepared a URL that contains an invoice that we are going to use to test the endpoint with. So I'm going to paste that into the request body. If you now click send, as you can see, we extracted all the information from the invoice and contains all the information from the components that you enabled in your preset. If you need less information, then it's absolutely fine to disable some of these components so that your output body is way smaller and that the extraction result is also faster. Alright, so you've now captured your document in a sync way. And we are now going to show you how to capture your document in an async way, including human-in-the-loop validation. You do not need to use human-in-the-loop validation, you can also do this without. For example, when you're processing large batches of documents, and you don't need to have the extraction results right away. Click on Async in the menu, and then click on Capture Financial Document Async to capture documents in an async way. As you can see, the OpenAPI specification has pre-filled the body here as well, but we are going to remove the components that we do not need. And we are going to use the same URL that we used for the sync endpoint. We are going to use the same preset as with the sync endpoint. And you will also need a human-in-the-loop configuration slug, which you can find in the interface at human-in-the-loops and then configuration endpoint. I already created one called invoice. And we are not going to use the webhooks for now, but you can also find out how to do that using our documentation. If you click on send now, it will actually create a job on our side that will be processed in the background. So what you get back is just a job ID, and this job ID can then be used to fetch the status of that job. So click on job ID and get status of job. You can then enter that job ID that you just copied into the job ID path variable, and you will get a status. As you can see, the status of this job is human in the loop, and you can also get some details about how many rounds are there and the current human in the loop status. If you then go to the dashboard, you can see that there's one review remaining, and you will actually see the document that you submitted. On the right side, you will see all the values that we found and potentially any other candidates that we found and where we found them. Your back office team can then validate all the results in this interface and then either put it on hold, reject it, or submit it. When you fetch the status again of this job, you will see that it's now finished and that the reviews were done and how long they took. If you then go to result and get results of job, you can actually get the final output of the job. So if you put the same job ID in the path variable again, you will actually see all the data that was submitted by the reviewer in the back office. So if the person that did the review made any changes, they will be reflected in this output. Alright, thank you for watching this video. You should have now implemented our API through Postman, and this will also help you implement our API in any other programming language. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and please read our API documentation to find out all the other details about our APIs.